So we are happy with the drill results visually at this stage. I'll go through that a little bit later. We have no assays at the moment. So Matsa is primarily a gold-focused company based out of Perth. Our flagship project is at Lake Carey, centred just about 250 kilometres north or 2.5 hours north of Kalgoorlie in the Eastern Goldfields. About 553,000 ounces at 1.9, reasonably healthy, open pittable material in resource, and our exploration play is to build that into a 1 million ounce resource in the near future. Usual disclaimers, just a snapshot of the corporate overview. Sadly, our share price is not quite 4.6 today, it's 4.5, so our market cap is down at $16 million. And as Chrissy just mentioned before, we're expecting $17 million from a sale agreement that we have in place with a private company called Linden Gold. 350 million shares on issue, 358 million, and our top 20 shareholders, as you can see there, around about 50-odd%, and very strong support from our Singaporean and German shareholders. So since last year I was here, a couple of changes in Matsa, and I'll discuss some of those developments during the course of the next few slides. The first one being the sale of Red October and Devon to the private company Linden, as I mentioned before. It's a $20 million transaction. We've had 3 instalments of non-refundable $1 million per instalment. So at the moment we've received $3 million of that transaction. We still retain 553,000 ounces in the resource. Red October and Devon represented 314,000 ounces, and they sold at an equivalent of $64 per ounce, which is quite healthy compared to our enterprise value at the time. The deal gives us an upper cash position of $15.5 million in cash, or around about $11 million, depending on Linden's election in terms of the cash and share ratios. The indications from Linden is that once they list, I'd rather us be in a lower part of the share issue, which means that we'll actually have more cash into the bank. Now, out of that $20 million, there is a $5 million deferred payment, which is based on the Devon project. $2.5 million within 24 months from from probably around about 30th of June this year, and $2.5 million in profit sharing from the operation itself. Care and maintenance at Red October, that will be taken care of, and is being taken care of by Linden Gold. The settlement target was June 30. I know at this stage Linden hasn't listed as expected, and therefore I expect a bit of slippage on that time frame. The rest of the transaction, in terms of the detail, I don't expect any slippage on that. The map that you can see there, the red outline, represents the tenements that are subject to this sale. So you can see there, it's around about a little bit less than a third of our tenement position, so we've still got a relatively healthy position on the ground there, just short of 400 square kilometres of ground. The other part about Matsa is our re-entry, I suppose, in some respects, into Thailand. We have some very healthy copper projects in the Loy Fold Belt there that you can see up to the top right-hand side, just next to Kingsgate Chattree gold mine. So Kingsgate have flagged that they are back into operation. They expect to be pouring gold by the end of this year. That, coupled with Pan Asia drilling Rinkiet project down in the far south of Thailand for lithium, and our own ongoing communication with government departments, indicate that the tide or the climate for support for exploration and mining in Thailand has turned in a positive way, and therefore we're quite confident that going back into Thailand is the right step for us. Our copper projects, we actually had those before we had the Lake Carey project. That's so just indicates how long we actually have been in Thailand, but we did put the projects into hibernation during the last 5 years or so whilst the government sorted out its mining regulations and support for exploration and mining. What does a sale do for Matsa? And as I mentioned just before we agreed and signed up the agreement to sell Red October and Devon, we had 867,000 ounces in resource. And essentially that translates to around about $27 per resource ounce of enterprise value. We sold the 314,000 ounces at $64 an ounce. So we received a bit of a premium on our existing enterprise value. Now, the next line there, post-sale, the enterprise value, that's a little bit fluid because of the movement in the share price. Right now, our enterprise value, based on settlement of that transaction, is even less than $14 an ounce. In fact, we're sub 10. So we make for a very compelling case at 4.5 cents. That's a very cheap entry into the gold market. So the pro forma, what does that look like in terms of the Lake Carey project? As you can see there, our tenement is around about 60 kilometres in strike and 20 kilometres across. So reasonably healthy sort of parcel of land. We're surrounded by Anglo Gold, Sunrise Dam projects, and to the north we've got Wallaby and Granny Smith Goldfields International. We have 553,000 ounces in gold, as I mentioned, a resource, and our target is adding another 1 million ounces to the project. Our early stage or near-term project development will be based along the Fortitude system. We've got Fortitude Gold Mine, which we have drilled before. We've mined a little bit there in the past as well. And then the trend as we head to the north has got a number of projects there, a number of prospects that we'll be drilling out at some stage, and I'll take you through those shortly. We have done mining studies on Fortitude Gold Mine, as I mentioned. I'll come back to that slide right now, actually. So 489,000 ounces in resource there. We have done some optimisation. We've done mining studies, which would give us a pit about 1 kilometre long, 190 metres deep, delivers 132,000 ounces, and at $2,400 an ounce, it gives us a cash flow, or just a surplus cash flow of just under $100 million. One of the key things there is that we've done some trial pit mining, as you can see there in the yellow spots. So we now understand the geology there. We've got some data in terms of ground conditions, and more importantly, that dirt was trucked to Sunrise Dam, Anglo Gold's processing facility, so we know it recovers quite well. The exploration potential is quite significant at Lake Carey, and really centred along those key trends that has just come up in the black. The main Fortitude trend is the one that we're working hard on at the moment, and takes into account all the way from Fortitude through FF1 and then all the way up to north towards Granny Smith. All up, that strike extent is around about 94 kilometres of shear system and mineralisation across those three trends. To the left is the Binder trend, the centre one is the Fortitude trend, and then on the eastern side is the Woolga trend. We've got quite a number of good targets, and we've prioritised those and ranked those according to the stage in the exploration pipeline, from early stage through to advanced drilling exploration. Fortitude North is the main one that we're chasing now, directly north of Fortitude Gold Mine. It's about 6 kilometres away. We've done some ground magnetic work on there to help us define or drill target the ore system. We have a little bit of drilling in there already, and what we're aiming to do is to do a bit of infill drilling and build that up into a resource. So the magnetic data there really assists us in terms of pinpointing and assisting the drill designs going forward. You can see through here, broadly speaking, the magnetic responses are trending almost north-south, a little bit towards the west of north, and they're represented by the red zones in there. And the blue zones are the weaker magnetic responses, and usually, and particularly in Western Australia, what we're chasing is the red zones, the high magnetic responses associated with iron, typically have sulfides, and that's a perfect fit for gold. A long section along that, just a bit of an exploration model of what we're looking at. It's essentially a shear hosted system with some high-grade plunging chutes, and the drilling certainly at this stage indicates that the models are around about right. Our early stage targeting is we're expecting to find somewhere between about 380 and 350,000 ounces in that spot, or even up to 600,000 ounces once we do extensional drilling. Binder is the shear zone out to the west that I mentioned just before. It's been mined by WMC back in the 1980s, a small mine called Binder, and they essentially mined down to the fresh rock. So they took out all the easy stuff, the oxide, and we're looking at building on that resource and then exploring further along the Binder trend out towards the northwest. And you can see there some of the drilling completed by Matsa in the last few years, and there's some decent and encouraging intercepts there that warrant further work. But that's probably the second priority in comparison to the Fortitude trend. So as I mentioned, we did some high resolution ground magnetics. We focused this year on the Fortitude structure, the Fortitude shear zone, and we've got a number of targets there. FF1, Matsa drilled that and identified some anomalous bedrock in the air core drilling. There's a big bullseye magnetic anomaly directly north of that has not had any drilling into the centre of that sort of system, so that provides us with a very encouraging exploration target. And then there's Fortitude North just there. Current work has been centred on that. We've got some air core drilling completed, and we're following that up with diamond drilling. Just very quickly, 40-odd thousand metres of drilling planned. FF1, this is the very first diamond drill hole into that. We got 19 metres of strong to moderate alteration and all the typical mineral assemblages you'd expect to see with gold, so eagerly awaiting the assay results there. Fortitude North, follow-up drilling from some of the previous work that we've done. Again, 16 metres of alteration there as well. The other thing in terms of the second sort of focus for Matsa is quietly we'll be building up our projects in Thailand. We've got tin and lithium exposure on the Western Granite Belt, but our key focus there as well is obviously the Loy Fold Belt in terms of the copper that I mentioned just before. At Phang Nga, down the southern part of the tin lithium belt on the western side, we've got some sampling, 133 stream sediment samples with SGS. We expect to get results from that over the course of the next week or two. And as I mentioned, a really strong focus there next to Kingsgate along that Loy Fold Belt. You'll see there some of the copper hits that we've had in the past, 54.7% copper with a high-grade chalcocite. Terrific product to be chasing. Timeline of activities, strong focus on Lake Carey, building the picture in the background on Thailand, and we expect to be able to develop a very good story over the course of the next few months. Thanks very much.